abandoning him. "Are you ready?" Gina asked, buzzing about Monica's bedroom, ticking things off on her fingers. "You have your bouquet. How about your something old and something new?" "And something borrowed and something blue," Nancy said. Monica felt butterflies circling her stomach as if they were desperately looking for a way out. She was really going through with this. She was getting married. She didn't have any doubts about Greg. Their relationship was everything she'd hoped for. Romantic, practical, supportive, and intellectually stimulating all at the same time. She just couldn't believe it was happening to her. "My dress is new," Monica said, twirling in front of the mirror, a wave of giddiness suddenly overcoming her. "My earrings are old." She touched the diamond and platinum flowers in her ears. "Those were your grandmother Becker's," Nancy said. "I wore them, and someday your daughter will wear them." The idea of someday having a daughter brought Monica up short, but she pushed the thought from her mind. "I think I've fallen down on the something borrowed and something blue." Gina reached for her gold clutch, which was on the bed. She opened it and pulled out a handkerchief embroidered with dainty bluebells. "You can carry this," she said. "It's borrowed and also something blue. It belonged to my grandmother Taylor, who carried it at her wedding." She glanced at Nancy. "I'd love for you to have it." Monica took the proffered handkerchief and tucked it in her sleeve. "I guess I'm ready then." In the end, Monica was glad to have her father's arm to lean on. The sight of all her friends waiting for her to walk down the aisle, and the sight of Greg, looking so handsome in his new suit, smiling at her from the altar, had her shaking like a reed in a strong wind. She and her father waited at the back of the church until the organist played the opening chords of Pachelbel's Canon. The joyous vibrations of the organ reverberated throughout the church as the organist got into full swing, her hands gracefully playing over the keys and her foot working the pedals. It was Monica's cue to begin. Her first steps were shaky, but she gained confidence when her gaze caught Greg's, and he smiled encouragingly. Finally, Monica's hand was in Greg's, and the minister was intoning the words of the marriage ceremony. It went by in a blur, and then suddenly Monica found herself wearing a brand-new gold band on the ring finger of her left hand, and the minister was smiling at them as he turned to Greg and said, "You may now kiss the bride." And then Monica was in Greg's arms, the scent of his aftershave and the feel of his lips on hers comforting and familiar. She broke into a huge grin as they turned and proceeded out of the church to the triumphant strains of Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Gina had insisted on planning a reception for Monica and Greg at the Cranberry Cove Yacht Club, where Xavier Cabot, the writer she'd been dating, was a member. The guests, who were mostly residents of Cranberry Cove, were all aflutter. The yacht club wasn't a place they ordinarily frequented. As a matter of fact, only a small handful of residents had ever been there, and that was only because they'd either worked there or had delivered goods to the club. The yacht club was for the summer people who owned the pleasure boats that were docked in the club's marina. Monica and Greg had been waylaid by the photographer to have pictures taken in front of the church, so most of the guests were already assembled at the club when they finally arrived. "Here comes the bride and groom," Bart Dykema, the local butcher, yelled. He raised a tumbler filled with a dark liquid that looked like whiskey in their direction. "I think the party's already started without us," Greg whispered to Monica as he smiled in Bart's direction. A waiter glided up to them with a tray filled with glasses of bubbling champagne, and they each took one. The room had floor-to-ceiling glass windows that opened to a terrace overlooking Lake Michigan. Boats bobbed in the harbor, their white sails standing out against the dark blue of the water. An American flag on the shore stood at attention in the stiff late September breeze. The air was cool, but the sun was still warm, and the terrace was set with plump cushioned chairs.